Hey Image Design, we're going to work with Unit 12 and combining masks and text to make sure that your text has some pizzazz to it. This is something that can work with any sort of technique. It doesn't just have to be text. It could be any shape that you would like. But let's go through the process that you learned in your lessons. So first, start by clicking File, New. We need a new canvas, and you can click on whatever size you want. It does not matter. When you have your new canvas open, grab your text tool and let's choose a font that is nice and chunky. We want something that's got nice thick letters. For the size, you're going to choose a size 60. And for the color, we want that to be black. Once you've got that, go onto your canvas and type in clouds in all uppercase letters. At this point, you could do a larger font if you would like. Mine's pretty small, so I'm actually going to double the size that they mentioned in the lesson, just so I have something a little bit bigger to work with. All right, so I've got my text here, and now I want to resize it to fit the screen, so I'm using my scale tool. And I also want to rotate it. So I'm going to use the rotate tool. These are two tools that you're familiar with. You've used them before. I'm on the move tool to center it back on my canvas. One thing that your lesson does not tell you about is the selection box. You'll notice that this yellow selection box around my text has gone huge just because of how I've edited the text. So if this bugs you or if it gets in the way of trying to do other things, which it has for me in the past, you can always cut it down. And that's under the layer menu, and you can click crop to content. And so then my selection box is only around the text. All right, so I have my text, I've resized it, I've rotated it. Now I want to try something new to edit it, and that is the bend curve filter under the filters menu. So click on the filters menu and find the distorts area. So filters, distorts, curve, bend. A new little window will pop up. You've got your preview here, and you can click automatic preview so that it adjusts. And what this is doing is that it is going to bend one of the lines on your image. So over here, you've got curve for border. It has upper and lower. When you look at the word over here, the upper part is the upper line of these letters. The lower part is the bottom line of the letters. If I grab the upper part and then I take this line, which is currently straight, let's bend it up in the middle. You'll see that the middle part of the top of my line also curves upwards. So you can sort of play around with that and kind of get a feel for how it will adjust the shape of your word. You can take this line and copy it to the lower side. So it'll copy this curve on the top line to the curve on the bottom. So copy, and you'll see that they match now. And you can also switch to the lower side and then make adjustments separately. Once you're happy with that, you can click OK, and you can also click back and forth as many times as you want until it's something that you like. When you click OK, it'll take some time to think. And then eventually you have a shape. And you'll see over here that it's combined those two layers as well. So I've got my word. I've edited the text so it's much different now than it used to look. And now I want to use an image and combine it with the text so that it can be more interesting looking. So in your Unit 12 folders, Unit 12, there is an option called Sky. Open that up and then copy it over, edit copy to your clouds text area. You could also open this up as a new layer if that would be easier. So I've got this, and I'm going to use my scale tool to resize the clouds layer to fit across the text. And then I'm going to anchor it down into its own layer. So grab this, and we're going to change this to image. Always name your layers so that you know what you're working with. So now I have image and I have clouds. Hide the image, and we need to select the clouds so we can make a mask. Use the color select tool, the red, green, and blue dot one, select by color, and select the black of the letters. Then click on image and unhide it, and you'll see the selection on your screen through the image, and then create a layer mask. Layer, mask, add layer mask. Choose the selection option and then click OK. And you'll see that the image has clipped or masked to the letters, which is kind of cool. One thing to note when you're doing layer masks, if you look over in your layers panel, you'll see that there is the image of the clouds and there's the image of the mask. If I click on one, it has a white border on it to show that it's selected. So if I click on the mask layer and I grab my move tool and I move the mask around, let me hide this bottom one first. You can see that it moves both things around. It also cropped that, which I don't know why it would do that. If I click on the image part, it'll move both things around the whole canvas. So let's try that again. Here, yeah, you can see how it is changing the background of the image on the letters and which part it is on. So you can move the mask around until you find a section of the image that you really like the look of. But I'm noticing that this green box is causing a problem for me. I'm going to ignore it for right now because it's not something I want to deal with. Right. So I've got that done. You know that you can move the mask around to change the look of the background across it, but I kind of like how the clouds are overlaid. So this is one thing that you can do, but I'm going to go ahead and try something a little bit different. And this is something that your lesson also shows you. Let's start by removing our layer mask. So right click on the layer and then click delete layer mask. And that brings you back to where you were. You can also remove the selection because we're going to start from scratch. Hide the image menu or the image layer, unhide the clouds layer. And this time when you select, we are going to grow it by 15. So it looks a little puffier, a little more fluffy like clouds itself. And then we are going to feather it. So select feather, and that makes the edges kind of softer and more transparent, kind of like clouds. And for this one, we're going to set it to 20 pixels. Click back onto your image layer. And then go ahead and make another mask. Mask, add layer mask. And you can see how the edges of my letters are nice and soft and fluffy. Okay, but there's a problem. So when I zoom out, I can't actually read what it's saying. And that can happen depending on your font. So this is kind of where you have to make a decision. when you're doing the selection. For me, I might grow it only maybe half the amount. So let's try this again. Let's see what it looks like with 8. So does it still have areas in between the letters to help it be more readable? It looks like it does, but I might go a little bit less than that even. So these are decisions you have to make too when you're making stuff like this. All right, this one's better. The divisions between the letters are a little more obvious. And now I'm going to feather it. And just like I reduced the grow, I'm also going to reduce the feathering. Let's do that by half. Okay, so let's go back, unhide the image, layer mask, add layer mask. There we go, that looks a lot better. And we still have the fluffy edges, it's just a little bit less extreme. So once you have this, you can hide the clouds layer or you can get rid of it. And for our mask layer, if you have done your edits and you feel happy with the edits on the mask layer, you can combine them together into just one image layer. And that is done through the layer mask, apply layer mask. Layer mask, apply layer mask. And over here you can see how it just turns into a regular image layer. All right, let's do some a little more edits to make this a bit more interesting. Grab your background layer and choose a background color that contrasts or complements the image of the clouds. Use your bucket tool to fill it in. Oh, remember to turn off your selection if need be. Let's do something a little bit more blue. There we go. Okay. And then as per your lesson, we're going to use your script foo menu to add some more detail to the words. So under script foo, grab your image layer and we are going to add a stroke, a color that will contrast against the blue and the white. I think your lesson recommends green of all things. Set the size to 5 and then click OK. Next, we're going to use the script foo menu again, and this time we are going to add an outer glow. Choose a yellow color or another color that contrasts against blue, white, and green. Set the opacity to 75, and then set the size to 5, and the spread to 0, and click OK. And then it looks like it's glowing a little bit. I can zoom out. I've got my word. Go ahead and save your work, and then move on to the project part of it where you use a similar process but with different images. If you have any questions, let me know.